What grass is best for sheep, or any ruminant for that matter? In case you're new here, this is Homesteading with PJ. I'm PJ. My family runs a 12-acre homestead in North Carolina where we practice regenerative agriculture on a small scale. Is there some secret magical formula for the best pasture for sheep? Unfortunately, the big things in life don't have magical, easy answers. But in this case, there is a magical, easy answer to planting the perfect pasture. I have something for you that takes out all the guesswork so you can grow grass that your animals will love, that makes them bigger, happier, healthier, all that good stuff. Access to this magical secret pasture formula is totally free. It's easy, and it will work pretty much anywhere in the US. Also, it's not just for sheep. So if you're curious about cows or goats, or even if you do pastured poultry, I have a system that will give you the perfect pasture. There are three things that really need to be understood. First, what are the best grasses that go into pasture? What are the plants besides grass that should be in your pasture? And what are the role of natives? So before I started raising sheep, I used to be a distance runner. I made the goal to run an ultra marathon, which if you don't know what that is, it's about 50 kilometers. So that's like running a marathon and then another 6 miles. I was really dedicated to run this ultra marathon because it was a goal for my dad. He wanted to do it, and so I made a goal to do it with him. I had two problems though. I was pretty overweight and I have been slow my entire life. Still am, but I was determined and I trained for years to do this. And during that multi-year long training, I found myself watching runners very carefully. Anytime I'd see a runner, I would look at them and see, are they a toe striker or a heel striker? What's their stance? What's their form? Are they tall? Are they slouched? What kind of shoes are they wearing? Now that I raise sheep, I look at grass the same way that I used to look at runners. When you raise sheep, you're not really a sheep farmer, you're a grass farmer. And the same can be said of cows. So when looking at grass, the goal is something that is productive, consistent, and it thrives in your local ecosystem. For me, that's tall fescue, but there's others, and those include things like orchard grass, perennial ryegrass, and Bermuda grass, to name a few. The tool that I'm going to share with you in a minute will tell you exactly which grass is best for you. And for those of you that are wondering, yes, I ran the ultra marathon. No, I have not done a single race since. I hate running now. I just hate it. I can't do it. Not interested. Okay, most grass farmers, when they're trying to figure out what pasture should they plant, they figure out what grass, and then they stop thinking about it. They don't think about the rest of the equation. Part of that is going to be legumes and anti-parasitic plants. So let's start with legumes. Legumes are crops like clover or alfalfa. And legumes have this amazing superpower where they actually pull nitrogen out of the air and deposit it into the soil. Now, why is that a superpower? Nitrogen is the primary fuel source for growing stuff like grass. So if you ignore clover, you're missing out on faster growing grass. Then there are plants with anti-parasitic properties, and they are possibly the most overlooked aspect of any sheep or ruminant pasture. If you raise sheep, you know that parasites are just the worst. There are a few plants that thrive in a pasture that sheep will eat and that have properties that have negative effects on parasites. The two are bird's foot trefoil and chicory. So adding a bit of both of these to your pasture is just one thing that can help you fight parasites. But planting these alone is not any guarantee. Parasite management is a multi-pronged attack, and planting the right forage is only one piece of it. One of my sheep mentors is a fan of giving his sheep pumpkin in the fall, usually after Halloween when all the pumpkin guts are out, because there's some talk about the properties of the pumpkin guts, particularly the seeds, that is anti-parasitic. It's kind of like a natural dewormer. I've read a lot of literature on that and found that it has marginal help. It's okay. It's more like a preventative dewormer. I don't think it would actually get rid of worms if your sheep was acting wormy. But that is another example. And what he does is he literally plants pumpkin in his pasture. So don't just call it a day once you throw your grass seed out there. Make sure you're thinking about legumes and at least consider planting some forage crops that have anti-parasitic properties. Okay, the third and last point that I want to make before I get into this actual secret pasture seed formula, that is talking about native forage. I am a huge fan of letting native forage do its thing. I promise you that if you prioritize fertility in the way of intensive grazing with ruminants, that native grasses will come in. You want native grasses because they are hardier than most store-bought seeds. They're also going to be more tolerant, resistant, and just better for your animals. They were here before you, and they will be here after you. Native forage exists in almost any setting. If your soil is fertile enough to grow weeds, you are standing on a rich seed bank of grasses and clover that's just waiting for a fertile environment to pop up. This is why I'm such a big fan of bale grazing. If you're unfamiliar with that, the idea is that if you have poor pasture or it's wintertime, you just throw bales of hay out and you let the sheep or cows eat that forage and pass along the fertilizer in the form of manure. I do not like planting pastures so thick that they don't leave any room for natives to come in. All right, we are finally here. Let's talk about what is the secret pasture formula. So I found this resource about 2 years ago, and I've actually sent it to a couple dozen of you in the comments when asked about, hey, what should I plant in my pasture? Now I'm here to share it with all of you in a video all its own. Let me introduce you to Nature's Seed. Nature's Seed is a company that sells pasture seed. And let me just say this clearly, I do not have a relationship with Nature's Seed. I am just a happy, satisfied customer. I love their blends and I love their products. I do not communicate with anyone who works there. This is just an honest, from me to you, this is a fabulous resource. So they've put together sheep-specific pasture blends for 15 unique regions in the United States. Each one is tailored to sheep. So for me, my mix is a South Atlantic transitional sheep forage mix. And in that mix, that includes tall fescue, Kentucky bluegrass, orchard grass, white clover, birchfoot trefoil, and chicory. So you see it's covering all the bases. It has major grasses like tall fescue and Kentucky bluegrass, as well as orchard grass. It contains that white clover, which is a legume, and then birchfoot trefoil and chicory for the anti-parasitic properties. This seed mix has served for the base of my pasture when I planted it 2 years ago, and I've just been thrilled with the germination rate. I haven't had to touch this specific paddock since planting it. The grass is incredibly lush. The sheep thrive when they're here. I'm very happy with it. So no matter where you are, they have a blend for you. They also have blends for cows, goats, and even chickens if you're doing pastured poultry. Now, what I love about this is that you don't even have to buy their seeds. My 2 paddocks are only partially seeded with Nature's Seed. In fact, my second paddock I don't think has any of Nature's Seed in there. So you can use their website just for research purposes, okay? You don't have to buy their seed. So let's say you live in Montana or Vermont or Ohio or Missouri. They have a unique pasture blend just for you. You get on the website, you figure out what geographical region you belong in, you even select what species of animal you raise, and then you learn what your mix should be. Now, don't get me wrong, Nature's Seed, their product is really good. Like I said, most of one of my paddocks is entirely seeded with theirs, but you don't have to do that. In fact, I suggest treating it as a resource more than treating them as a product. So buy your own individual bags because you'll be able to put these seeds where they do their best. What's up, guys? So my pasture, I have fescue and I have clover, right? Fescue does well in full sunlight. Clover will do better in partial shade. So instead of wasting expensive clover seed in an area that in the summertime gets 16 hours of sunlight, I will put that clover in a shaded area. And that is the benefit of using it for research purposes and then buying your own blend and kind of being a mad scientist and doing it yourself. If you remember nothing else, remember these 3 things. Research the right pasture blend. Leave room for natives. Focus on fertility in the form of intensive grazing. Do these 3 things and you will have an amazing pasture. If you want even more regenerative homesteading practices in your life, make sure that you like the video, hit subscribe, ring the bell, do all the YouTube things. That helps me, but truthfully, I hope it helps you too. Hey guys, what's your favorite grass? Oreo, chocolate milk, double dark chocolate, skim milk, and whole milk. We're all hanging out there. My sheep buds.